Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Institute of World Politics. It is my great pleasure to welcome you at another Intermarium lecture. Today we are having with us a great speaker, Mr. Štěpán Černoušek from Czech Republic, who is a Russian studies scholar, a person very much involved in the popularization of knowledge about the Gulag system. When I saw his film, I knew he is a speaker for us, because what is very important about commemoration and about memory about all the victims of the Soviet Union is that it's very easy to forget the moment we don't see the bodies and the moment we don't see the graves. And Gulag, prison system, is very quickly disappearing from the face of the earth. It is not widely known, but many of the installations in the harsh climatic conditions are dissolving quickly. And as long as we don't preserve the memory, we actually stand a high chance of not being able to know that this has ever happened. That's why I find the activities of Mr. Černoušek so worthwhile, and that's why it is my great pleasure to have him with us today. And I would like you to watch his fabulous film, listen to the great story of the great adventure, and hopefully support his cause. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Institute of World Politics, for inviting me, and thank you very much to you for coming in this very beautiful afternoon. And I'm really happy that you don't prefer the weather and you prefer dark topics of the Gulags. But yeah, okay. So today I'm going to screen our documentary movie about our expeditions, which length is 30 minutes. After the movie, I will be ready to answer your questions. And in the very end of today's event, I will be ready to show you some presentations of new technologies which we use and which we have been developing recently. It's like virtual reality, Gulag in virtual reality, and in augmented reality projects. So in the very end, if anybody of you will be interested in it, I am ready to show it to you. So I have never thought that the result of my trips to Siberia, to Russia, where I started to travel in 1994, and I focused on Russia. I studied Russian language, not English. I'm sorry about it. And that the result of my trips to Siberia would be a trip to the United States, and it's still unexpected for me, something very special. I've been here from February in the United States on a Fulbright scholarship, which I got because of work of our Gulag.cz association. And the goal of the scholarship is to learn in American museums how they deal with sensitive topics of history of 20th century and how they use new technologies. And till now, I started in California. I visited, for example, former concentration camps for American Japanese during the World War II, which are museums today in Manzanar and Tule Lake. I also traveled with my family, 2 small kids, by train from Los Angeles to New Orleans to visit more museums in South which deal with the history of slavery. And now I came to DC in May, and now I'm based in New York, and it has been very fruitful and interesting for me, and I'm really happy about it to be here. And maybe it's kind of strange that there is a one Czech guy in the United States who is presenting projects about the Soviet gulags, and sometimes I have some comments from Russia. Why you Czechs are interested in our history? We would deal with that the best. But I think it's not so strange that we as Czechs are interested about it, and that we present it, or I present it here in the United States, because I think that Soviet Gulag or Soviet repressions, it wasn't just a part of Soviet or Russian history. It was, I would say, world history or a human tragedy, because there were repressed and not only Soviet citizens, not only Russians, but a lot of other nations from all over the world. There were like victims of Soviet repressions were 20,000 Czechs or Czechoslovak citizens, hundreds of thousands of Polish citizens, many other European nations like many French or Dutch people, and even Americans. Do you know about the history of Americans in the gulags? There were thousands of Americans who went through the Gulag horrors, or who were executed in Soviet Union in 1930s, and especially they were workers from from Ford Company who lost their jobs during the Big Depression in the beginning of 30s, and they decided to emigrate to Soviet Union to build heaven on earth, and many of them became Soviet citizens. There were also two baseball teams in Moscow in 1930s, and but in the end of 30s, 1937, 38, during so-called Big Terror, most of them were arrested as spies. Many of them were executed or sent to the gulags, and I'm so surprised that it's almost unknown chapter of history here in the United States. And that's another reason why I feel that it's necessary to work with this history, to show it, to spread it. And I am ready to do it using new technologies and documentary movies and so on. So I won't speak more because the movie, I think, will tell you more than me about the reasons why we do our research in Siberia, in Russia, and how the places of abandoned Gulag camps look like.